What's going on, everybody? Martin here, this time bringing you 5 of my favorite games to play as a bad guy. In OTBL, in however you would like to perhaps sit, as many RPG in general tend to focus on the monomyth or the hero's journey. That places you in the role of an experienced young hero who then overcomes some adversity and wins a decisive victory that transforms them in some way, and while that's all well and good, sometimes you just want to play the bad guy or do cartoon-like evil things or potentially more serious evil things, and each game I think on this list can offer some variety of the though because of its, let's say, secondary status to the hero's journey. Sometimes games can be inconsistent with how this portrayed, with some games presenting is as more solely options and other taking is too seriously to the point, where it becomes loud bail, so I acknowledge that this is not something every game does particularly well, but these are 5 of my favorite games to do this is, so I admit none of those are really perfect. We are going to start with a classic, and this is Red Dead Redemption 2, and I say a classic because it's the only game on this list where you can tie someone up and leave them on the railroad tracks, which is the most classic evil guy move. There is, but in all seriously, Red Dead Redemption 2 and the first game really as a game that focused the narrative around redemptions of a character who was a pretty terrible person. The games themselves obviously lean into that a little bit, and with Otto in Red Dead Redemption 2 somehow the main game actually changed some cute sense, and the ending will change depending on a honor level, which can be affected by going around gunning people down, shooting people at every opportunity, and just generally being a bad person, which can include some triumphal things or the more cartoonish route with a fair bit of mustache twirling. However, in the end you will eventually need to write to your inevitable fate brought on by our author's own actions, be they good or bad. So when it comes to morality and things like that, and just being an evil guy, I think Red Dead Redemption 2 Red Dead Redemption 2 handles it really well. That though does bring us to our second entry. In a bit of a genre shift, we have Tyranny, the isometric CRPG from Obsidian, where much of the game you can play as the bad guy. And while there are options to play through a more, let's say, good path, you wear such. To start the game out of playing and bad guy theme, as you are part of Overlord Chaos as Hermes, as he seeks to topple the last bastions of intermediate civilizations in an area known as the Tier C, your job being essentially to conquer this place. However, you can, and there are rarely for paths, so the game is some of which interweave, and each one of them has their potential options to do some pretty heinous things, which makes for a game that has more bad options than good ones. However, all of it is done in a way that, despite the fantasy setting, takes itself very seriously, which is why Tyranny is one of my favorite games, with a fantastic story. So ultimately how this situation resolves itself is up to you. Literally most of the options don't leave you being the good guy, which makes it one of my favorite games to be evil moving right along. So we have our third entry with Neverwinter Nights 2. Mask of the Betrayer specifically, which is the expansion to the main game, and while the main game continually has options for this, I think it's really taken to new heights in the expansion Mask of the Betrayer, so slight spoilers for that. A head mask of the Betrayer as taking on a spirit of hunger that will consume essence from people, and this is represented by a mechanic in this expansion that you have to deal with making choices, choosing whether or not to feed on people, etc, and you can choose to fight this hunger which is the sort of good pass or lean fully into it in the sort of ultimate bad guy. And in here it's possible to essentially become a new embodiment or avatar of the spirit of hunger, which sees you dabbling people taking full revenge on the Gizyanki, who started the entire story of a begging with and potentially even dabbling some gods themselves. It's definitely more of a power fantasy type of evil, I would say, but it's definitely well earned over the course of a well-written long adventure, which makes the evil option for Neverwinter Nights too. Okay, so wait my next video about next game. It's my top 5 games, and goodbye.